Iron ore has always been a thriving industry in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. Ever since 1866, when Minnesota State Geologist Henry H. Eames noted iron-bearing rocks. Thus started the search for obtainable iron in Minnesota. On November 16, 1890, J. A. Nichols discovered iron ore north of Mountain Iron, Minnesota. By 1900, the range had been defined and the first underground mines were constructed. However, by 1902, many of the underground mines had been removed in favor of open pit mines, and the last underground mine closed in 1960. Eventually, the mining of traditional natural ores gave way to the mining of taconite, an iron-bearing sedimentary rock. This is where railroads come into play. The Duluth, Missabe, and Iron Range Railway was created in 1937 from the merger of the Duluth, Missabe, and Northern Railway and the Spirit Lake Transfer Railway. The following year, the Duluth and Iron Range Railroad, along with the Interstate Transfer Railway, were added. Taconite, when shipped, is in the form of processed pellets, the size of a small marble. When in this form, they are known as Taconite Pellets. They are hauled in small hopper cars, affectionately known as Jennies. The DM&IR, once ruled by monstrous 210-4 Texans, 210-2 Santa Fe's, and the famous 2884 Yellowstones, is now ruled by EMDs. Ever since 1961, the DM&IR has been a fully dieselized railroad. Starting first with SD9s, then SD38-2s, and then SD45T-2s. The DM&IR has become known as an EMD Holdout, while GE products rule many other Class 1 railroads. However, the DMDs are losing their foothold as more and more General Electric products make their way up to the Iron Range, like C40-8s, C40-8Ms, and other types. This is why we came here, to capture these locomotives doing what they were built to do. Join me as I take you on a trip to the range. From the docks on Lake Superior to Proctor Yard, there is a hill. This hill, known as Proctor Hill, has a gradient of 2.2%. This is one of the few places in North America where you can regularly hear EMDs running in Notch 8 for extended periods of time. We are standing atop Spirit Mountain, just south of Proctor Yard, on the first of our 4-day trip. Coming to a complete surprise to us, Bessemer Lake Erie number 909, a SD40-3, was in charge of 2 other SD40-3s and loaded limestone train heading up the hill. Listen to the locomotives roar as they head up grade at Proctor Hill. Preparing to chase the 909, we head towards the north end of Proctor Yard to find the Steelton Hill helper set finishing up its work, assisting another train up Steelton Hill, the hill on the Superior subdivision in between Adolph, Minnesota and Pokegama Yard. It is another 2.2% grade hill, and requires helpers to get the large trains from the Superior subdivision over the hill. After finding out that the 909 and its train would be stopping for a crew change and an eventual tie-down, we head out to the Cloquet River Bridge to capture a northbound empty taconite train led by CN 6024. At one time, the DM&IR was a completely double-tracked and in some places triple-tracked railroad. CN, however, deemed the double tracking unnecessary and removed most of it. On our way back to Proctor, we get word of a northbound manifest train, and we pull off the road at a nice curve. Leading this train is CN 5704. The next morning we were treated to a beautiful sunrise and headed to the bottom of Proctor Hill. Here, we caught DM&IR 408 leading an empty limestone train down grade. There is still more of the hill to go, as from this location there are still 2 miles to the ore docks, and even further to the limestone dock. this location, we headed over to Superior, Wisconsin to see if we could find any BNSF action. However, whilst checking out the BNSF yard, we got word of an M347 on the CN with Wisconsin Central 2001 trailing. We hit the highway, determined to catch one of the last WC painted locomotives in existence. Managing to catch up to it at Kelsey, Minnesota, we paced the Jeep for several miles. Leaving the 2001 to continue through Minnesota and eventually on to Canada, we returned to Spirit Mountain to catch IC6260, a Death Star SD40, lead an empty taconite train up the hill. Now in Saginaw, Minnesota, we are waiting for an empty limestone train. With a quick wind in Minnesota today, the temperature is not very high. Our spirits are, however, because leading this train is a C40-8M, CN2449. From Saginaw, we hit the road and beat the train to Munger, Minnesota, where the CN Rainey sub, ex-Duluth, Winnipeg and Pacific Railroad track, crosses over the Missabe sub. After another run to Superior to find some BNSF action, which there was none of to be had, we make our way back to Spirit Mountain to catch an ex-CN&W, C40-8, and CN 15th Anniversary Unit, CN 2107, making its way up the hill with a loaded limestone train. the second day over, dawn on the third day reveals an overcast sky with little to be had in terms of train action on the CN. Starting off the day is the DM&IR 402 leading a loaded taconite train down to the docks with a sweet old cast P5. Heading once more up the hill, we check out a different spot off of 2nd Street in Proctor, with IC 6260 leading a loaded limestone train upgrade into the yard. Back at Munger, we can clearly hear two distinct horns, both of them Leslie RS3Ls. One of them is on the CN 2172, the other on an unknown train headed north on the Missabe. Once the 2172 and its empty limestone train passes, we hit the road and beat the other train to Kelsey. Having made it to Kelsey in time, we meet up with the CN 2291, an ES-44 DC wearing the RS-3L. As we let the train go, the Missabe subs seemed to go dead, and we did not manage to catch any more trains that day. The trains picked up the next morning, however, with DM&IR 406 leading an MRF at Saginaw.
CN detector, mile 2.5. Southbound, no defects. Temperature 36F. Total axles 104. Speed 35. Detector out.
Chasing the 406 to Munger, we catch him once more at the curve under the Rainy sub. Following the 406 and a Proctor, we see him pull into the yard besides the Proctor yard switcher, IC 6251. As the yard switcher comes to a stop and the slack rolls in, our trip on the Iron Range comes to a close. While our time on the range is up, the EMDs up north still have time left. Before the video ends, I have to give a special thanks to John Hoffman, the man who puts up with me and my shenanigans, and Phoenix Lushy for gathering much of the information needed to catch these trains on the Iron Range. And on top of that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.